Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about men that most women don't even realize. A man can be head over heels for you and not even fully understand it himself. You see, men don't always process emotions the way women do. A man may think he's just enjoying your company, laughing at your jokes, or appreciating the way you care for him. But what he doesn't recognize is that these little moments are actually love taking root deep inside him. A man doesn't always realize when he's in love. And that's the funny thing about it. Love has a way of creeping up on him in the smallest, simplest ways. And he might be sitting there thinking he's just enjoying the moment, thinking he's just comfortable, thinking you're just another person he likes being around. But what he doesn't recognize is that those feelings he's brushing off are the seeds of love taking root inside him. You see, a man doesn't always fall in love in some big dramatic fashion. Most times he falls quietly without even knowing it. He's not analyzing it. He's not giving it names. He's not calling up his boys talking about, man, I think I'm in love. No, it doesn't work like that for him. For him, it's gradual, it's subtle, and it's written in the things he does long before he ever admits it to himself. Think about how he moves when he's around you. At first, he might have thought he just liked your energy, but then he starts listening to you differently. He catches every little detail you share. You tell him you like your coffee a certain way, and without thinking about it, he remembers. He hears you say you've had a long day, and suddenly he finds himself wanting to make you smile. He doesn't stop and say, oh, this must be love. He just does it. That's how love works for a man. It hides behind his actions until one day it's undeniable. And here's the thing. Men don't always have the vocabulary for love in the beginning. They don't sit there journaling about how their heart feels. That's not how most of us are wired. We think we're just being protective, just being considerate, just enjoying the moment. But what's really happening is that we're falling deeper, step by step, without a clue that the feelings have already crossed over into something bigger. That's why I tell women all the time, pay attention to what a man does, not just what he says, because the truth is his actions will always confess his love before his mouth ever does. Picture this. He used to go out with his boys all the time, used to stay up late, used to be busy with his own routine. But now he's finding himself changing things around, not because you asked him to, not because you demanded it, but because being with you suddenly feels more important. That's not a man just liking you. That's a man who's quietly fallen in love. And most of the time, he doesn't even realize he's traded in his old ways. He just knows he wants to be where you are. Another way you see it is when your happiness starts to weigh heavy on him. He notices when you're not yourself. He worries if you're stressed. He wants to step in to fix it, to lighten the load. He might not call that love, but it is, because love isn't about how many times he says, I love you. Love is about how much he's willing to step outside of himself for your sake. And a man who finds himself doing that naturally, without planning, without forcing it, is already more in love than he knows. What trips men up is that we like to believe we're in control of our emotions. We like to think we'll know exactly when it happens, that we'll see it coming. But the truth is, love sneaks up on us. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for us to be ready. It doesn't care about our plans. One day we think we just enjoying somebody's company, and the next day the thought of losing them feels unbearable. That's when it hits us. Sometimes late, sometimes way after everybody else has already seen it. So when a man is more in love with you than he knows, it's not always obvious to him, but it's clear in the way he behaves. He doesn't have to label it. He doesn't have to declare it right away because it's written in the quiet consistency of his actions. That's the truth women need to recognize. A man's love isn't always loud in words, but it's steady, it's loyal, and it reveals itself in ways even he doesn't fully understand yet. When a man starts to fall for you, one of the biggest changes you'll notice is in his priorities. At first, he might not even recognize it himself because men are used to living life on their own terms. He's used to moving when he wants to move, doing what he wants to do, answering to nobody, but love has a funny way of sneaking into a man's life and rearranging his whole schedule without him even realizing what's happened. Suddenly, the things that used to be important start to slide down the list, and the woman he cares about moves straight to the top. That's how you know he's more in love with you than he even understands. See, a man may think he's just being thoughtful, just being attentive, but what he doesn't realize is that he's slowly shifting the focus of his life. He starts checking in on you not because he has to, but because he genuinely wants to. He begins planning around you, making time for you, considering your needs before making decisions for himself. That's love talking, even if he hasn't said the words. He might still tell him, say, I'm just looking out for her. But the truth is, when a man starts putting your happiness above his own, he's already going deeper than he knows. Let me break it down. A man who used to prioritize sleep will stay up late just to make sure you got home safe. A man who used to spend his weekends hanging out with friends will suddenly find himself choosing to spend that same time with you. A man who used to spend his money without a second thought will start budgeting differently because he wants to make sure he can take you somewhere nice. None of that registers in his mind as love right away. He just thinks he's doing what feels right, but it's bigger than that. It's his heart silently shifting you into the center of his world. And ladies, don't get it twisted. Men don't make these kind of changes lightly. If a man is rearranging his priorities, if he's putting you before things he's been doing for years, that's no accident. Men value their freedom, their time, their routines. When he starts sacrificing those things for you, it means you're not just another person in his life. It means you become the most important person, whether he knows how to say it or not. The real sign is when your happiness becomes his concern. That's when you see how deep it's getting. He notices when you're quiet, when something is off, and he can't just ignore it. He feels restless until he knows you're okay. He might even go out of his way to solve problems you never asked him to fix. He doesn't do that because he's just a nice guy. He does it because his love for you is growing and is controlling his actions before his mind has even caught up. Sometimes you'll even hear it in the way he talks. He'll start using we instead of me without realizing it. His future plans will slip out with you in them, not because he sat down and mapped it out, but because he can't picture his life without you anymore. That's what love does. It rewrites a man's story while he's still busy thinking everything is the same. And the beautiful part is that he doesn't always see it happening. He thinks he's just being a good man, just doing the right thing. But what's really happening is love is reshaping his priorities, pulling him toward you in ways he doesn't have the language to describe yet. That's why women often recognize a man's love before he does, because she can see that he's putting her first even when he hasn't admitted to himself why he's doing it. So when a man begins making those small but powerful shifts, when your needs and your joy start guiding his choices, you don't need him to say it out loud just yet. His actions are already screaming it. A man may think he's in control, that he'll decide when he's in love, but the truth is, when his priorities start revolving around you, he's already there. He's already more in love with you than he even knows. A man might not be quick to say, I love you. For a lot of men, those words carry a weight they don't toss around lightly. Sometimes it's pride, sometimes it's fear, and sometimes it's just that he doesn't know how to express it. But here's the truth. You don't need to hear the words right away to know what's happening in his heart. If you pay attention to his consistency, if you watch the way he shows up, the way he sticks around, the way he follows through, you'll see the truth long before he ever speaks it. His consistency is the real confession, the loudest, I love you, he don't even realize he's saying. Men can be guarded with their words. They know women listen closely, and they don't want to promise something they're not ready to deliver. So they hold back, they test the waters, they keep things casual in conversation, but watch what he does. Does he keep calling? Does he check in on you day after day, even when he's tired or busy? Does he show up for you when it matters most? That's not just interest. That's a man's heart choosing you over and over again. See, love for a man isn't about how many flowery speeches he gives. It's about reliability. It's about whether you can count on him, whether he makes you feel safe, whether he proves with actions what he can't quite say with words. A man might not be ready to say, I love you, but if he's consistent, if he keeps investing his time, energy, and presence, you better believe that love is already there. He may not even realize how deep he's in, but consistency doesn't lie. Think about it like this. Anybody can impress you for a week. Anybody can act interested for a month. But it takes real love for a man to keep showing up, to keep proving himself in the long run. It takes love to call you every night just to hear your voice. It takes love to rearrange his day so he can see you. It takes love to be dependable even when it's inconvenient. Consistency is sacrifice dressed up as routine. And men don't make that kind of effort unless their feelings are already bigger than they know. And don't mistake silence for indifference. Some men are quiet with their emotions, but they're loud in their patterns. If he's the one who keeps texting good morning, if he's the one making sure you're safe at night, if he's the one showing up when you need him most, that's his heart talking. He might not be ready to say it, but he's already living it. Women sometimes wait on the words, but the truth is the actions are stronger evidence than anything he could ever tell you. The problem is men think they can hide it. They think that as long as they don't say, I love you, they're still in control, still keeping things casual. But they don't realize that consistency betrays them. You can't keep showing up for someone, keep making them a priority, keep investing in them, and not be in love. You can lie to yourself all day long, but your actions will always expose your heart. And that's exactly how you know when he's consistent when he keeps choosing you, that he's more in love than even he understands. What makes it even more powerful is that consistency builds trust. It builds a foundation. It makes you feel secure in his presence. A man doesn't do that for just anybody. He doesn't stick around and stay steady unless he's emotionally invested. So even if he hasn't said the words yet, don't let that fool you. Watch the pattern, watch the reliability, watch the way he refuses to let go of you. That's love, pure and simple, whether he's admitted it or not. So remember, love doesn't always start with grand declarations. Sometimes it starts with little acts that never stop. Sometimes it's hidden in the rhythm of his behavior, the way he keeps showing up no matter what. And when you see that, you can rest assured he's already more in love with you than he's even willing to admit to himself. Men love to believe they're in control. They love to think they can choose when they're ready to fall in love, that they'll know the exact moment it happens. But the truth is, love doesn't work on a man's schedule. It doesn't wait until he's prepared. It doesn't ask his permission. It doesn't tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, you ready? No, love sneaks up on him. It comes in the middle of laughter, in a simple text that makes his whole day better. In the quiet way he feels your absence when you're not around. One day he thinks he's just enjoying someone's company, and the next he can't imagine life without that person. That's how love works. It catches men by surprise, and most times they don't even realize it until they're already in deep. See, a man might start out thinking he's just interested, just curious, just having fun. He tells himself he's in control, that he can step back anytime he wants. But the more time he spends with you, the more invested he becomes without even knowing it. That laugh of yours, that way you support him, the comfort he feels when you're around, those things start weaving themselves into his life like threads. And before he knows it, they've built a whole fabric he can't tear himself away from. That's when it hits him, sometimes late, sometimes only after everybody else has already seen it. He's in love. And here's what makes it funny. Men like to pride themselves on being logical. They think they'll be able to recognize when they've fallen, to stay 2 steps ahead of their feelings. But love isn't logical. Love doesn't follow rules. Love doesn't care how tough you are, how guarded you've been, or how much you swore you weren't going to let anybody get that close again. It slips past your defenses, sneaks under your guard, and takes over before you even know what's happening. That's why you'll hear a man say, I don't know how this happened, but I can't stop thinking about her. That's love, plain and simple. And it caught him off guard. It's in the little moments that it becomes obvious. He starts worrying about where you are, not because he's trying to control you, but because he genuinely cares. He finds himself wanting to hear about your day, even when his own day has been long. He looks forward to your voice, your presence, the comfort you bring, without even realizing how much space you've already taken up in his heart. He thought he was just enjoying himself, but love slipped in and changed the game on him. And here's the thing, everybody around him can usually see it before he does. His friends notice he's talking about you more. His family can see the way his eyes light up when your name comes up. Even you can feel it in the way he treats you differently. But in his own mind, he's still catching up, still trying to understand why his whole life feels like it's revolving around you now. He doesn't realize love has already claimed him. This is why women sometimes underestimate what's happening. They think he hasn't said it yet. Maybe he doesn't feel it. But what's really going on is that he's still trying to process it. Love isn't something a man always identifies right away, but the signs are there